Welcome to Community Conversations. I'm your host, Steve Mantis, and our guest today is Raph Shay with Ecosuperior. Welcome, Raph.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Excellent. So, Raph, just tell me a little bit about Ecosuperior. What's their background?
Ecosuperior. Well, Ecosuperior is the environmental group in Thunder Bay and really the Northwestern Ontario region. Started in 1995 under, I think the name back then was Thunder Bay 2002 Clean and Green.
Oh my gosh.
I think that 2002 was a lofty goal that we didn't reach. So it changed its name eventually to Ecosuperior. And right now, I think we've got 15 employees, full-time and part-time, doing so many different programs, from water to waste reduction to green spaces to energy efficiency and active transportation. So it's pretty broad in scope, but as we all know, the environmental challenges are pretty daunting, so there's lots to do.
Right. So what areas are you focusing on?
I do mostly green building, active transportation, and energy-related stuff. You know, it's all kind of related to this climate change umbrella, because that's where most of our emissions come from.
Okay, so let's start with the green building stuff, because that's a real interest of mine, coming out of the construction industry and trying to be more green. What kind of programs is Ecosuperior involved with there, and what can people do to actually achieve green buildings?
Well, that's a good one. A lot of the green building, the modern green building, started with these energy efficiency retrofits that were happening around the country. And around Canada, they trained these energy auditors to go into your house and really just do the detective work of where it is you're losing energy and what you can do to fix energy. Like, a lot of people think replacing windows is the best thing that you can do, but that rarely has a good benefit cost ratio.
Okay.
Weather stripping and insulating your basement are actually way better bang for your buck. So we have an energy auditor on staff, and while the incentives were out there, we were just doing a lot of energy audits and helping people navigate through that process. The retrofits the money isn't there anymore, but we still do energy audits to help people figure out how to best save energy. And what we were kind of doing is looking inward now. So we're trying to take a leadership role. A couple years ago, we finally bought an office building on the corner of Red River and Hill Street. And we're renovating that. It includes a 1940s house, which is really inefficient. The only insulation there is old newspaper. So we're renovating the whole thing and trying to turn it into a resource center of what green building looks like. So we'll have an example office space that people can come and see examples. We already have LED lighting, a whole bunch of different sustainable types of floors, and a lot of other examples. And then the house will renovate to really efficient standard. And then there's a couple thousand homes like it in Thunder Bay, and less than 20% have been renovated. So there's a huge potential there for people to see an example, step-by-steps that they can take on a house that's really similar to what they have in their own situation. And then other than that, we're looking to do an addition for kind of a workshop learning space and with demonstration new construction for what's possible. Because the whole thing is changing pretty quick right now. There's new technologies out there, and then there's also the really simple stuff about just weather stripping. Right?
Yeah, well, it has changed so much. I was a contractor back in the 80s, 70s and 80s. And when I just put an addition on my house a couple years ago, it's like almost everything was different.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's still boards and plywood, but a lot of the other materials is different, and different regulations and different practices, and there's so much changing. So what I'm hearing is then sometime in the future, Ecosuperior really will be a model of what people can do in their own home in terms of retrofit and new construction you're talking about.
Yeah, totally. Ecosuperior has been around for 19 years now. So we've always been going outside to tell people, help people in their homes or in their lives to see how they can become better stewards of the environment. So now we're looking at really leading by example now that we have our own building.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, let me just ask you a little bit more about the energy audit. It's a program I was a little bit familiar with back in the day, where someone would come in and do an audit on your home. How's it working now? What's actually involved if a person says, come in and show me where I can save some money, where my house is leaking heat? what are the steps? How does it work?
Well, right now we don't really have funding for our programs on that front. Ecosuperior is all funded by different programs and grants that we can get for that. But what is out there is a great program from Union Gas and from Thunder Bay Hydro that's geared to income. So if you make below a certain threshold, our energy auditor, Don Rutledge, will go into your house and do a blower door test. So they kind of insulate the door, and then there's a big fan that depressurizes the house, and then you can see where all the air is coming into the house. So it's a really cool test that gives you exact numbers. Right now, because we don't have any funding for that, we have to charge, I think, $300 for an energy audit. But then we also have, if people want to do the detective work themselves, we've got kilowatt hour meters that we lend out to people. And that's a really simple tool that you plug into your power outlet, and then you plug the appliance into it. And what it does is it kind of tells you how much energy that appliance is using. So it just kind of tries to empower people to do the detective work themselves, and then they can start to figure out, if they've got an appliance that's really being a power hog and needs to be replaced, or it's always more learning. Like, I think I'm more of an energy nerd, and I'm really keen about these things. So so I spend a lot of time on the phone too, helping people out, figure out what they can do in their own house.
So I want to come back a little bit now. So if a person says, yeah, I'd like to try doing this energy audit. So the one option sounds like, if it's free, if you meet a certain threshold in terms of income. Approximately, what kind of range is that?
It depends on how many people live in the house.
Okay.
It's based on a per capita. And that's a program that in the province of Ontario, utilities are regulated. So Union Gas, as a regulated agency, has to offer energy efficiency programs. And that's the program they decided to offer. And same with Thunder Bay Hydro is part of the Ontario Energy system, and they've got a similar program if you heat with electricity. Actually, for people who heat with electricity, that's a really, it's always really expensive, especially now as rates are always going up. So there's always something you can do there to help manage that cost.
So how would people find out if they would be eligible for that free energy audit through one of these programs?
Well, there's different websites and a phone number that you can go visit. I don't know them off the top of my head, but we can share.
All right, so maybe we'll put these on the screen.
Yeah.
And people can then see how they can follow up and get more information. So we're just going to take a little break.
Cool.
So please stay with us, and we'll be right back. Thank you.
Awesome.